Hi, Sky here. Just wanted to let you know that there was apparently a window open or something when I was recording and I forgot to close it, and as such I had to heavily edit the sound on this so that it is going to sound a lot different from the last couple of episodes, and they are a little below my personal standards, but I don't feel like re-recording them. So, we'll get through this one. We'll get through the next one, which is probably going to be recorded on my phone or something like that, and then we will see how we go from there. Other than that, enjoy the episode, and have a wonderful holiday. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Cephalo-Pod, the Davy Jones LockerRoom.com podcast. My name is Sky. Boy, it feels like following the Kraken is a Sisyphean effort, doesn't it? Big word aside, it's been a very interesting week for the Kraken. They came home after a really impressive Metropolitan road trip, and they had a pretty good record coming out of that. And then they went and played a bunch of Atlantic teams that came to them. Now, unfortunately, they didn't get to play all the really bad Atlantic teams. It was most of the ones that are either threatening for a playoff spot or ones that are currently in a playoff spot. And all things considered, I think they played 2 of the 3 of those games pretty well. It started on Tuesday night against the Panthers. The Panthers are a really good team. They have had their struggles, they've had their ups and downs, but right now they are still the class of the East, and you need to treat them as such. And I think the Kraken did as good a job as anyone on playing them with the, let's call it, talent gap between the two teams. Like, they played them really, really well. Really, really well. And I think the Kraken responded about as well as you could have. Joey Daccord had an insane .970 save percentage coming out of that game. It was a shootout loss, but hey, that's a pretty tough team that you just played. It's like really, really tough to play the Florida Panthers on the best of nights. And you can't realistically expect the Florida Panthers to give up a bunch of short-circuiting offense games all the time. I think they did a very good job in spite of the fact that, by the numbers, they kind of got killed by them. Not really a whole lot to say about that other than, I don't know, there's just such a wide gap between what the Panthers are capable of and what the Kraken can do. Seattle tried to take their opportunities where they could, and that's good. It's just it didn't work out for them. Next up, on the 12th, it's on Thursday, they played the Boston Bruins, and I know many people out east are either hoping for or expecting the Boston Bruins to come back from the dead and finally be the team that we always know that they are, fairly successful, even if they play a game that people don't really like. Seattle, on the other hand, has had a weirdly successful time against the Boston Bruins, or at the very least, their games have been way closer than they have had any right to be against this team that they play like twice a year. Boston, coming into that game, was not looking good. They got absolutely creamed by the Jets, and it looked like a lot of the residual problems that team has is still true coming into that game against the Kraken. The Kraken won it pretty definitively in a 5-1 victory. They really got up on Joonas Korpisalo. They absolutely attacked the net. They took advantage of the fact that I don't think that Boston's defense is very good. I think it's playing well below the standard the Boston Bruins set for themselves, and Seattle was able to take full advantage of that. Oliver Bjorkstrand scored twice. Shane Wright had 2 assists. Jared McCann had a goal and an assist. It was a very productive night for a number of Kraken players. Just a stunning work. Unfortunately, it also meant that the team got a very bad idea. And the bad idea that they had was that Philipp Grubauer came out of that game with only 1 goal scored against him. Now, let me make it clear. For as negative as I have opinions of the Boston Bruins defense, their offense is just putrid. Just putrid on its face. They are one of the lowest scoring teams in the Eastern Conference, and they are not very dangerous outside of a very limited number of forwards. So, taking that .971 save percentage that Philipp Grubauer has, I think gave the team a very bad idea. Okay? I feel like a number of people in the coaching staff said, well, alright, we've done what we can. Philipp Grubauer is fixed. And that led into their game yesterday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I record these on Sundays, so yes, I am still talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning game as though it were fresh. The Lightning are not the Boston Bruins. They can start slow. They can definitely start slow, but it is around this time of year that the Lightning start to really ramp up. They start to go on these 3, 4, 5 game win streaks, and they go from, 5th and 6th in the conference all the way up to 3rd if they keep their pace. And that could be a lot of trouble for a team that is not expecting that. And while the Kraken started really strong, I think they did a very good job of keeping up for the first 10 minutes of Saturday's game. The Lightning did exactly what I feared they would, and that was start slow and then ramp up into being the Tampa Bay Lightning again. They do this on just like a micro level in between periods, and then they do this on a macro level between games. And it's unimaginably annoying, but they are also just inundated with guys with finish. And you can get away with a lot of what the Kraken got away with against the Boston Bruins. The Bruins they effort hard, but they can't really create dangerous shots in the same way that, say, Seattle can. Tampa can absolutely blow you out of the water when it comes to really prime scoring chances. According to Natural Stat Trick, the Tampa Bay Lightning are 7th in the league in high danger goals for. They know how to get their goals. They know how to get on the board. And Seattle seemed to understand that for a little bit. But then, man, I'm getting really tired of saying the Kraken showed up with the lesser goalie. Because Philipp Grubauer had a wonderful get-right performance against the Boston Bruins. The problem is, I don't think I would have played him against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'd be playing him tonight against the Ottawa Senators. At least that's where I would have been. That's where I would have been had they won this game against the Lightning. Now, knowing that the Ottawa Senators are on a 3-game win streak, I don't want him to play him. I definitely don't want him to play him. I've said this over and over and over again, and it just never seems to get through. You need to make absolutely certain that the team that Philipp Grubauer is playing is actually going to be as bad as you think it is. Like, you need to be going through their advanced stats, you need to be going through their last 10 games, last 5 games, more like it. Because, man, when he's not playing well, it makes the rest of the team look bad. And unfortunately, he didn't have a great game. Granted, Seattle's defense did not understand how to play the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Lightning absolutely bamboozled them, and I'm gonna be real, the Kraken offense didn't do a whole lot to try and keep up. Especially down the stretch where they started to kind of fall apart. At this point, we know that this is who he is now. He can have good games, but you can't guarantee them. Especially not when, you've been better, but you're struggling to, keep up the momentum through 20, 40, 60 minutes of play. So, it's not that I disliked their effort against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa's really good. It's just a lot of the same problems keep showing up with this one goaltender, and I really don't want to be bringing this up every other podcast. Like, I've been saying this for a while now. This is when you show up with the second best goalie, your margin for error is razor thin. Razor thin. And it's really frustrating to have to sit there and watch the team repeat that lesson over and over again and still not get it. It's especially frustrating because, in general, coming off of that trip to the Metropolitan Division, the Kraken have actually been pretty darn strong. They managed to sneak a point from the Florida Panthers. They got 2 points against the Boston Bruins, and had they won this game against the Tampa Bay Lightning, they would be right in it in the Western Conference wildcard. I'm not saying that they would be, like, in a lock or anything. That's way too far ahead of things. But the fact that they would be close, getting close, has been such an ordeal for the Kraken, not just in terms of, like, individual games. They have had this problem before where they struggle to get there. Without fail, every opportunity that they have had over the past, 2-3 years to make life better for themselves, either get into a playoff position or rise up in the standings in such a way, even during the one good season that they had this problem the whole time. They could have been third in division almost the entire way. And they struggled, they had real flaws that couldn't be hammered out, and they just they couldn't get over that hump. And that has been the issue this year. It's once again the issue. The issue of, we have built this team that can do most of the things that we want this team to be. They are fluid, they can make good passing plays, they forecheck hard, but, the finish isn't always there. A lot of shots coming from the up. Their defense kind of knows what they're supposed to do, but they have to commit to a lot of the things they should be doing. They turn the puck over in their own end a lot. They have a lot of trouble with transition defense, and one of their goaltenders is the worst goaltender in the National Hockey League. The hump it becomes a mountain if you let it. And unfortunately, Seattle has been climbing Mount Hump for years now. It's a little hard to know what they're going to do. And I guess the reason why it's so frustrating is that the Kraken did pick up a number of good habits, even if they didn't play super well against the Florida Panthers, that they brought into the Boston Bruins game, and they won pretty handily. And then it was like they all just sort of ran out of gas through the last 45 minutes of the Tampa game. And that's a real problem, because now you're going to be playing a team that's on a 3-game heater and has a really good goaltender. Do I think the Ottawa Senators are good? Who's to say? But I do know their goaltending's good. I do know Brady Tkachuk's a mean piece of garbage, but he's a good goal scorer. And I do know that Tim Stützle's still pretty good, and I know Drake Batherson's still pretty good. And I don't know if they can match their finish. I guess I'm just confused as to why, when golden opportunities to even slightly improve their standing comes up, the Seattle Kraken don't meet it. They hate meeting it. Oh, they hate meeting it so much. So I really want to know where Ron Francis goes with this team, because this is really... It just feels like they're spinning their wheels here. And I know that they're not maybe the best team in the Western Conference. I'm not asking them to be a good Western Conference team yet. I'm asking them to be a wildcard team. I think they can do a wildcard. That's where my expectations have been managed. Hopefully after this game against the Ottawa Senators, things start to slow down. For those of you who don't know who David Bonderman was, he is a big billionaire private equity guy who put up a lot of the initial capital to bring the Seattle Kraken to Seattle. After 100 years of waiting, finally, they came back. He died at 82. He died at 82 on the 11th. My heart goes out to his family, and it's never good when people die. While I don't think that it has gone quite the way that he would have hoped, at least he got to see some playoff games out of it. Again, heartbreaks to the family. I'm sure they will be very, 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 very well off for the rest of their lives. And the Kraken won the game right after his death, so they did a very good tribute to him at the game, and they did a very good tribute to get 2 points for him. So, rest in peace, Bondo, and my heart goes out to the family one third time. Alright, now back to the games. Tonight, they're playing the Ottawa Senators. The Sens are coming off of a 3-day trip out west. They are currently on a 3-game winning streak, and they have looked competitive in just about all of them. They blew out Anaheim, they blanked Carolina, and they took it to OT against the Penguins, who have been rapidly ascending the standings. So they're formidable. They're a formidable team. So even if they have their struggles, and don't you worry, they've got some struggles, they're a formidable team, at least right now. So what do the Kraken need to do to beat them? First of all, take advantage of your puck possession. Ottawa takes a ton of shots, and a lot of them get through. They're 8th in the league in both Corsi for percentage and Fenwick for percentage. That's shot attempts and unblocked shot attempts for in percentage-wise. That's very good for a team, especially right now. Are they always good at getting quality shots? They're about middle of the pack on that, but still, you need to take advantage of the opportunities that you have, and you have to disrupt them when they have the puck. They are going to be ramming their forecheck down your throat, so you need to meet them halfway and make this a slog, because that's the only way that you're going to take the puck away from them. Second, you need to test that goaltender. Specifically, you have to make him move around. Linus Ullmark played against the Penguins, and he had a very good game. He had a .926 save percentage on 27 shots. He was, again, playing a very talented team that is struggling. He is playing unconscious hockey recently. He started very slow, but has sort of blossomed back into being the Linus Ullmark of old. Now, that's a problem if you don't know how to beat him. Now, here's what I know about Linus Ullmark. His first shot is going to be a very good save. The thing is, if he gives up a rebound, you need to pounce on him. If he gives up a rebound, you must pounce on him, because his lateral movement is not nearly as good as his first shot opportunity save. He makes a great first initial read, and then kind of has to swim backwards to get to that second read. He's very, very glacial when it comes to lateral movement, so you do have to move him around. You do have to move the defense around, which isn't going to be very hard, because Ottawa doesn't have a very strong defense, at least when it comes to their depth players. So Linus has to be... he has to keep guessing. And if the Kraken can do that, then they have a really good chance of beating them. Also, they've got to play a nice, clean game, and the Ottawa Senators love testing that. The Ottawa Senators are 6th in the league in power play coming into this game, and buddy, that is the wrong team to have a bad PK night, which the Kraken have sometimes had over the last couple of games. So don't get suckered in. They play a really nasty kind of game. Do not let them dictate how this game is refereed. Do not let them dictate the pace, and do not let them be the Ottawa Senators. Force them to play uncomfortable, because they can kind of unravel if they play uncomfortable. And third, get power play goals. The Sens do not have a good penalty kill right now. It is 24th in the league. It is not... They get suckered in. They get suckered into good movement. They get caught puck watching a lot. And so if the Kraken can actively control the zone and create good passing, don't let too many players start to drift towards the half wall, just keep the puck moving, they've got a good chance to potentially beat them. It's going to be a fight no matter what, but they can beat them. I know they can. Either way, it's going to be a great game, and it is going to be at 7 tonight. After that, if they manage to beat the Ottawa Senators, they're going to be playing the Chicago Blackhawks. If you haven't checked in on them lately, good for you. The Chicago Blackhawks are bad, and watching those games are, in fact, really, really, really rough right now. I don't recommend doing that. They're not quite as spellbinding as Nashville can be, nor are they this Sisyphean tragedy that the Buffalo Sabres are right now. No, they're just kind of bad in like the boring way where nothing really works and they kind of get outshot, but you still gotta show up. Otherwise, they're just about at the bottom of the league in just about every relevant category of possession. They don't have a very good goaltender. They don't really have great team offense or defense. They've got individually talented offensive players. That's just not much else, right? At least right now. So, show up, don't get into penalty trouble, ought to be fine. I would say that. Problem is that Kraken have played bad teams before, and they played them bad. So, my answer to what do they need to do to play the Blackhawks is to look over that game film from that Anaheim series and that San Jose series and say, don't you dare do that. Don't you dare do that again. Because you are way better than that. You are way better than that team. Alright? Good. Show up, get your 2 points, and leave. And finally, because the schedule makers hate us, the Kraken play the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche within the same weekend. Now, this back-to-back is a dangerous thing. Number one, you're playing the Knights, who are very, very good. They have beaten them before, but it's still going to be an uphill battle no matter what. The issue, as it always does, comes down to goaltending. The Vegas Golden Knights do not have great goaltending right now. If you play them, you have to expect a boat race. You have to expect a major opportunity for the... You have to expect a game where it's going to be high scoring, and you've got to meet them on that turn. Because that's how they play their games recently. They win by one-scorer games, and they play a lot of 3-2 games, 2-3, 4-3 games. If they ever lose, it's by like big amounts or very little amounts. So you have to be ready to meet them on that turn. But that's just the first game. That's the one that I personally am most invested in. Not just because I don't like the Knights. I don't think anyone does outside of Vegas. But specifically, what's coming into that last two games of this week is that you will be sorely tempted, given how poorly the Avalanche started this season, to play Philipp Grubauer in the second game on that Sunday night. And I cannot overstate this. Don't do that. Do not do that. The Avs took an opportunity to go and get some kind of goaltending help, namely in the form of Mackenzie Blackwood. Mackenzie Blackwood has been kind of all over the place when it comes to save percentage, but right now he is killing it in Colorado. And this has been my thing. This has been my thing when it comes to Philipp Grubauer. He will show up the second best goaltender on the ice. So, especially given how much better the Colorado Avalanche are playing, I almost feel like it's better for him to play the Knights game. And I know, that's not great. That's not a great position to be in. Then I'd rather him play the Colorado Avalanche, because right now, the Avs are at the very least starting to play a game that will get them back into the Central Division conversation. I don't know, it's hard to really say what the big call coming into this week is, because once we hit December 28th, that's the last game before the new year. And then we're starting to look at the Kraken as what? Exactly. They've had their issues, they've had their injuries, but they still have a lot of just core problems of roster construction that I don't know that they can fix just by playing well. And granted, they've been playing a lot better. The issue is that 500 hockey isn't enough. It isn't close to enough. But again, most frustratingly, it is that hump that they could get over. I really wish that this team would pick a lane, because both being it's so over and we're so back is fine for the early season, but we're starting to get to the point where we really need to decide on what the future of this team looks like. And I kind of feel like this is a lot of mirages, either waiting for Eberle to come back or really sizing up what you actually have. And frankly, I just don't feel like that's good for anyone. That's not fun for anybody. It's the hump. The hump is there. All you have to do is get over it. And right now it's looking more and more like a mountain. Either way, starts tonight against the Ottawa Senators. Let's hope that they can make something of it. Anyway, we're moving away from the pros for a minute to talk about the prospects, namely that a number of prospects in the Seattle system are going to be playing for Team Canada. They've got 3 Kraken on their roster. They've got 2 forwards, Berkeley Catton and Carson Raykoff, and the sole blue liner being Caden Price. From all told, it seems like there have been a number of scrimmages where these Seattle Kraken players turned out to be really good when they played together, which is always a positive thing to hear. But definitely Raykoff and Catton have been highlights, at the very least from early goings. Obviously, they're going to have to play a bunch of really good youngsters. You never really know what this tournament is like until it starts, but this is a group that is as talented as Canada will ever be, as it usually is. So, good luck to them. Congratulations on being selected to Team Canada, and I really hope that they have a very wonderful time there. Go for gold. But not to be outdone, Team Sweden is also bringing a baby squid with them. They're bringing Zeb Forsfjall of the Skellefteå system and also of Skellefteå Sweden itself. He has a pretty decent 6 points in 25 games. Doesn't sound super impressive, but you have to understand he's a 19-year-old playing against grown-ass men. That's pretty impressive for a 19-year-old to put up. Very excited for him. Congratulations. And I hope he has a very strong tournament with Trey Kroner. Let's hope that Trey Kroner can actually get to where they want to be, which is in a medal position this time. Czechia has also decided to bring a couple of baby squids with them. They brought Jakob Fibiger and Edouard Salé. Chalet's been playing with the Firebirds for the last 22 games. He's got 13 points and is one of the leading rookies on that team. He's doing pretty well for himself. Very excited to see him play what is probably going to be his last opportunity to play for the World Juniors. So Czech Republic definitely has a very good one on their hands. I really hope that he has a good time there. Meanwhile, Jakob Fibiger has been playing in the OHL with the Brampton Steelheads. God, I thought they were in Mississauga. Either way, he's got 15 points in 27 games as a defenseman. Pretty solid. And of course, he is going to be noted for his zone exit skill. He's got excellent transition skill, and I really hope that the Czechs lean into that. Defense isn't really their strong suit, so just go in all on offense. What's the worst that they could do? There's a lot. If you don't have a very solid defensive structure in these tournaments, you will get killed. But still, it will make for fun games. But still, good for the Czech prospects. Good luck. I've always been a big fan of the Czech Republic system, so good tournament. Go for gold. Moving back to the NHL for a little bit. There's a lot of stories that are matriculating through. The Penguins are finally not as bad as they looked, so maybe they're not going to sell quite as bad as they were. The Rangers have completely had the bottom fall out of them. They look really, really bad. They're 3-7-0 in their last 10 games. Frankly, it's a miracle they've even won the 3 that they did. There's a lot of people in New York who do not like the construction of this team. New ownership, new groups, new front office seems to really not like the way that this is turning out, so they may become a very deeply chaotic team to watch. But man, it looks like all suffering on the planet is being condensed into the experience of watching the Buffalo Sabres. I wanted to wait to record this because the Buffalo Sabres had a game against the Toronto Maple Leafs this week, and the Leafs beat them. They have lost every last one of their last 10 games. It is shocking how poorly the Buffalo Sabres have turned out. And let's be clear, they have been rebuilding and trying to be a competitive team for a long time now, and I don't know if they're really ready to stop rebuilding. Like, they're going to have to sell off assets. They're going to have to sell off again if they want to try to improve themselves. Like, when does this stop? When does any of this stop? It's just, man, that team has just a legendary level of failure behind them right now. And I can't even say it's all goaltending, because their goaltending's okay. I can't say that their offense is the issue, because they've got good pieces there. It's just, man, really puts the Kraken's woes into perspective. Just saying. Don't know how you dig your way out of that, although I imagine that a good portion of it is putting up a for sale sign and saying that if you have some picks to rub together, they can do some business. I would imagine that is going to be a big part of their 2025 portion of the schedule, is figuring out what they actually like and what they actually don't like as part of their team. I imagine that Dylan Cozens is probably on the chopping block, as they have made very, very clear. I don't know if the Kraken should be in on all of these Sabres if they decide to start selling, but I don't know. Ron Francis should probably start kicking some tires. I'm just saying. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot else to say. I think that what we should be focusing on now is the World Juniors, not just because I'm a huge fan of international hockey, and the Kraken don't have any players in the Four Nations tournament, but it is also a good opportunity to look at the future, because the future for this team is bright. They just need to be able to pick it up and use it to navigate their way through the darkness that this league can sometimes be. That starts by getting over the hump. You gotta get over that damn hump sometime. Otherwise, I think that'll be it for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you liked this, you can check us out where you get most of your podcasts, whether on audio versions through Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. Actually, Google Podcasts is dead. Simplecast. Find us on Simplecast, or you can find us on whatever podcatcher you happen to find. If you liked this, but you wanted to see what my face looked like, can't imagine why you'd want that. Either way, we've got a YouTube channel, and we've got a special YouTube setup so that you can check us out over at Davy Jones Locker Room on YouTube. You can also find us on most major social media websites at Davy Jones Locker Room or at Davy Jones LR. If you liked the content but wanted to see it in written form, you can go on ahead and check us out over at DavyJonesLockerRoom.com. DavyJonesLockerRoom.com has some of the best previews, write-ups, recaps, and analysis of the Seattle Kraken. We are the number one thing that you see when you type Seattle Kraken news on Google. We're very proud of that, and we want to continue to make that feel like a big deal. So, go on ahead, check this out. We've got some wonderful stuff upcoming. Glenn Dreyfus, as always somehow manages to find the really coolest parts of this sport, because he's an archaeologist of the human side of this sport, and I really, really deeply envy that about him. Otherwise, that's it for this week. There will probably be an extremely poorly recorded version of this on a cell phone in my room somewhere, because I'm going back to the East Coast for Christmas. I thank you all very much for listening. My name is Sky. Keep calm and post Zoidberg when we win, and as always, go Kraken.